History Garden's AP World History Unit 2 Deep Dives. This is the podcast where we dive deep into histories, defining moments and systems that shape our world. I'm your host, and today we're taking the journey into the medieval world to uncover the feudal system, a structure that dominated Europe for centuries. Imagine this. You're a peasant in the year 1100. You wake before dawn, head to the Lord's fields to work, and at the end of the day, you return to your own tiny hut exhausted. You owe your labor, your loyalty, and even a portion of your harvest to a noble who, in return, promises protection. Above him is a king who grants land in exchange for military service. This hierarchical system, which every person owed something to someone above them, defined medieval Europe. But feudalism was more than just a political system. It was an entire way of life, shaping economies, social structures, and even warfare. And when it finally declined, it paved the way for the modern world. How did this system come to be? What were its long-term impacts? And why did it eventually crumble? Let's find out. Feudalism didn't just appear out of nowhere. It emerged from chaos. The fall of Rome and the need for order after the collapse of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE, Europe plunged into a period of instability, invasions, and lawlessness. With no strong centralized government, local rulers had to figure out how to maintain order and defend against Viking, Muslim, and Magyar raids. The land was the most valuable resource in medieval Europe. Kings granted land, or fiefs, to nobles in exchange for military service and loyalty. These nobles, in turn, granted land to knights in exchange for protection. At the bottom were the peasants, also known as serfs, who worked the land in return for protection and a place to live. The hierarchical pyramid, king at the top, lords and knights in the middle, and peasants at the bottom, became the foundation for the feudal society. What was life actually like under feudalism? It depended on your status. Kings were the theoretical rulers, but often relied on powerful lords and dukes to enforce their rule. Lords and barons controlled vast estates, collected taxes, and commanded knights. They lived in stone castles, which were both homes and fortresses. Knights were the military backbone of feudalism. They trained from childhood as squires before earning their title. In exchange for land, knights provided military service for their lord. They followed a code of chivalry, emphasizing loyalty, bravery, and protecting the weak, though in reality, warfare was brutal. 90% of medieval Europeans were peasants. Most were serfs, meaning they were legally bound to the land they worked. A serf's life was harsh and demanding. They worked 6 days a week on the lord's land. They paid heavy taxes and could not leave without permission. In return, they received protection from knights and a small plot of land for themselves. Despite their low status, peasants formed the economic engine of feudal society, growing the food and producing the goods that kept the system running. Feudalism provided stability, but it also kept most people locked in place with little chance for social mobility. Feudalism shaped Europe in ways that still influence us today. It introduced the concept of decentralized rule, where local lords had immense power over their own lands. Over time, common law and feudal courts laid the groundwork for modern legal systems. The manor system, the economic foundation of feudalism, created self-sufficient villages, where people grew their own food and made their own goods. Innovations like three-field system and heavy plow boosted agriculture, leading to a population growth. The Catholic Church was deeply tied to feudalism, controlling vast lands and influencing kings. Cathedrals, monasteries, and universities flourished under feudal patronage. Feudalism created the Middle World, but it wouldn't last forever. By the 14th and 15th century, feudalism was crumbling. Why? One reason, the bubonic plague. It wiped out 30 to 60% of Europe's population, leading to labor shortages. Serfs demanded higher wages and more freedoms, weakening the feudal structure. New trade routes with the growth of cities created a merchant class, less dependent on feudal lords. Money-based economies replaced the barter system of the feudal estate. The 100 Years' War saw the rise of professional armies, including the reliance on feudal knights. Kings like Henry VII of England and Louis XI of France weakened the power of feudal lords, creating strong centralized states. By the 16th century, feudalism had largely disappeared, replaced by nation-states and early capitalism. Feudalism was more than just a system. It was a way of life in structured medieval Europe for nearly 1,000 years. It brought stability but also inequality. It built castles and cathedrals but kept peasants in poverty. And when it fell, it paved the way for modern economies, centralized governments, and new ways of thinking. The echoes of feudalism still remain today. Concepts of loyalty, hierarchy, and land-based power continue to shape politics, economics, and even culture. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep history alive.